Hey guys, what's up? Dario here. This is the iPhone XR. This is also my first iPhone, and I've been using this phone as my daily driver since it came out. And to be honest, there are quite some things that I really like about this phone, but there are also things that are really big deal breakers for me. So the real question now is this phone something that you guys should get? And to answer that question, I would suggest you to stick around, as these are my thoughts on the iPhone XR. So let's start. Okay, so let's first start with the build quality of this phone. The front and back are made entirely from glass. It's surrounded by an aluminum frame and it comes in 6 colors: red, yellow, white, coral, black, and in my case blue. From a build quality perspective, it's exactly what you would expect from Apple: precise and top-notch quality. And to be honest, the phone is a bit on the heavy side with its 194 grams, so it's definitely something that you will feel in your hands. And also because of the size and the weight, it will feel a bit bulky. And even though I have quite big hands, I found myself using the phone with 2 hands more often than expected. So I think that it definitely won't be easy to handle for people with smaller hands. Even though the phone is entirely made from glass, I didn't feel the phone to be that slippery. In terms of fingerprints, it really depends from what color you have. So for example, in my case, blue didn't really attract too many fingerprints, but I think the story is gonna be completely different if you go with the black version. Okay, let's now move to the next most obvious thing on this phone, the display. So it has a 6.1-inch IPS LCD display that Apple calls Liquid Retina, and it also supports True Tone. It has a resolution of 828 × 1792 pixels. And that's one of my biggest disappointments on this phone. I was so frustrated about the display on this phone that I made a completely separate video about it, and I would recommend you to go check it out here. The notch on this phone is the same as by the iPhone XS. It supports Face ID. Apple claims it's faster, but to be honest, as this is my first iPhone, I can't really benchmark it, so I'm not really sure about the speed. And to be honest, I also have really mixed feelings about Face ID. Sometimes it would work without any problems, while sometimes, even in the most ideal conditions, I would have to lock and unlock the phone just to get recognized. The bezels also on this phone are really thick, and it also contributes to the bulky look and feel of the phone, and I would even say it makes it look a bit cheap. And in short, there are 2 main problems with the screen. First of all, it lacks sharpness, and second, the colors on this phone, they really look washed out. And you should really look at it from this perspective. When you're interacting with your phone, you're actually interacting through the touchscreen. And every time you interact with your phone, you're 100% of the time looking at the touchscreen. And the touchscreen on this phone, it really sucks. And why do I say that it sucks? It's because for the price that you paid for this phone, you're actually getting a very average screen with really thick bezels. And I really believe that for $750 that you paid for this device, that there could have been done a lot more with the screen. Let's now talk about the performance of this phone. Performance-wise, this phone is really a beast. It has 3 gigs of RAM, it has Apple's newest hexa-core A12 Bionic chip, so the same one that you would find in the iPhone XS and XS Max. It has also the new 4-core Apple GPU, and if you pair this low-resolution crappy screen with a super efficient and powerful CPU and iOS 12, this phone becomes a real powerhouse. It really handled everything like a champ, from high demanding games to day-to-day tasks. Everything on this phone really felt like a breeze. This fast and powerful processor is also powering the excellent camera on this phone. This year we are getting a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens camera with an f1.8 aperture, dual-tone flash, and also HDR support. And the pictures on this phone end up great looking by just doing a quick point and shoot action. Low light performance is also great. Some of the pictures that I took ended up a bit more yellow than in real life, and I also experienced some lens flare in some pictures, but otherwise the pictures are really on point, and it's really difficult to take a bad picture with this phone. And the same story goes here for video. This camera supports 4K up to 60 frames per second, 1080p recording up to 60 frames per second, and also slow motion recording capability of either 120 or 240 frames per second, with of course degraded quality, so good light is here key. In general, the video capturing capability of this phone is really amazing. I was really impressed, especially with the 4K 60 FPS performance. The camera also offers great video stabilization and captures video with stereo sound. The selfie camera on this phone is 7 megapixels with an f2.2 aperture, and it supports portrait mode with adjustable depth control, just like by the iPhone XS and XS Max. Edge detection in this mode works really great, but in some cases it can also a bit underperform. But in general, this camera is capable to take some really great selfies, so you won't be disappointed here. It also supports recording 1080p video at 60 frames per second. Even though this phone has a very powerful CPU and a capable camera, battery life on the phone was actually really excellent. And don't be fooled by the 2942 milliamp battery. I personally would end up almost every day with at least 20% of battery life left, and in some days even 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. But if you run out of power, you will be here a bit disappointed, because the phone does support fast charging, but you won't get the fast charger in the package with your iPhone XR, and then it requires you an additional investment of $50. And I'm not really here the biggest fan of Apple's pricing strategy, because I think it's really a big douchebag move, because you already paid a premium price for this device and now it requires you an additional $50 investment to get the full potential of this phone, and next to the $750 that you already paid, it already rounds up to $800 for this phone. And of course, this phone has a glass back, so it supports also wireless charging. This phone has bottom firing speakers, and the earpiece is also used as a speaker to get that stereo experience. They can get quite loud and the sound is very punchy and clear. For content consumption, I would say that the speakers are really great, but the part that under-delivers here in the whole media consumption experience is the screen. Of course, you won't get a headphone jack, and if you want to connect your 3.5mm headphones, you will again have to pay $7 for an adapter, which is an additional investment that you have to make on the premium price that you already paid for this phone. There are also a couple of additional things worth mentioning for this phone. So you don't have expandable storage options, so you're limited to either 64, 128 or 256 gigabytes. The screen also doesn't support Force Touch, and the phone is also IP67 dust and water resistant. So the things that I really like about this phone is the build quality, the very capable camera both from a video and picture perspective, the speakers, the battery life, the excellent performance, the experience of iOS 12, and also the water and dust resistance. The things that I don't like here is, first of all, the screen, which is a big deal breaker in my opinion, especially for me because I'm coming from an OLED Samsung screen. The bezels that make this phone feel less premium, and also the bulky feeling in your hands. And as well, the lack of expandable storage, the lack of Force Touch, and also the additional investments that you need to make to really fully utilize this phone, like for example, the fast charging brick. So the question now is, should you get this phone? And my question to you would be, are you okay for paying $750 to get an average screen that you're gonna look at 100% of the time when interacting with this phone? If no, then this phone is not something for you. But if you're looking for a phone that has excellent performance, an amazing camera, and great battery life, then I would say, yeah, go for this phone. For Android users, if you go for this phone, I think you will be highly disappointed because by now you're probably used to getting better deals from Android-based smartphones. As for me, I'm gonna be shipping this phone back because, to be honest, I really got spoiled by Samsung OLED screens, so for me this screen really feels like a big downgrade, especially when I know the premium price that I paid for this phone. Okay guys, I hope this review helped you to make a decision if you should buy this phone or not. If you liked the review, drop a like, and also don't forget to subscribe, and I will of course see you guys in the next video, so take care.